Why is it so hard to get the final 3 outs of a game?
I think hitters lock in the best then. It's the age-old question. I mean, you have guys who've pitched the 8th inning and breezed through it. You put them in the 9th and they struggle. It takes a special guy to get those last 3. So the reasoning, I think it's just the biggest 3 outs of the game. That's why they get paid the most.
Right. You've kind of moved Chris Barraza into that position here lately,
Right.
and he did a really good job in the Pac-12 tournament. Had some struggles earlier in the season. To the 9th inning.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of tried to mix and match it during conference with the type of hitters that were coming up. You know, Chris has obviously a really live fastball at the top of the zone. Trevor Long has a great sinker, good slider. So we were trying to match it, and it really wasn't working out. So we decided on Chris and let him go with it, and got some huge outs against Oregon State, you know, to keep the game tied and gave us a chance to win, and then pitched really well against Oregon also. So yeah, he's sort of grown into that position.
But considering the struggles he'd had where he was on the losing end of a couple of games, what was his mental state like with those kind of losses?
Yeah, he was beat up. I mean, we came back from Oregon State, and I can remember vividly, you know, just telling him, just stay with it. You know, stay with it. He was just so frustrated. I think especially the older players and pitchers, when they struggle a little bit, they see the end coming. So I think there is a little bit of maybe some more mental anguish than a freshman who knows he's got 2 or 3 more years to get this thing right. So they want to win so badly. Sometimes it can be counterproductive.
A lot of your guys have had struggles with the 0-2 pitch and the 1-2, like putting the hitter away.
Right.
What would you like to see from them in those situations that maybe they haven't done?
Yeah, we've tried to stress to them, you know, if they get, you know, because obviously they get the pitch calls. If they get a slider or a changeup, just get it down in the dirt. You know, we've had a hard time doing that. And I thought we did a better job on Saturday night of bouncing some balls and trusting the catchers to block them. But there's no doubt that has been an issue all year, that the 0-2, 1-2 hanger has really cost us.
You had to kind of jerry-rig the starting rotation during the Pac-12 tournament with it starting up earlier. Are you back to the regular thing? Are you going with Cam on Friday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think, how much would you attribute that performance against Oregon State to the short rest?
Oh, I think it was huge. It was huge, and that's why it was tough to use Aiden on short rest. You know, we were very careful with his arm and asked him between every inning, you know, how he felt. Started to tighten up a little bit, so we got him out of there. But you know, we even had Cam available, you know, in that situation, which I did not want to use him. So now he's rested. I think we'll see a better Cam Walty.
The first 2-3 games of a regional feel more like a weekend in terms of being able to just have the in order.
Yeah, I think if you win, it is almost like a weekend. You could play 3 games and get out of there. But as we saw last year in Miami, there's a situation where you might end up having to use a ton of guys. So we threw a bunch of people yesterday against hitters to try to get them some more live at bats, and everybody will be available.
What do you like about what Walty brings to the table?
He just has a calmness to him. Obviously, there's some illusion to his pitches. He has the fastball with the ability to go down and up, gets swings and misses, but can throw all 3 pitches for strikes and allows our defense to play. We really trust our defense, as you guys know.
The 2 outings where he struggled recently, it was kind of like 1 inning. It's almost like a run in basketball.
Right.
It was a bunch of consecutive hits.
Yeah.
With 2 outs, I think.
No doubt. 2 outs. Yeah, 2 outs, nobody on. Yeah. You know, sometimes I'll send Dave out, or a couple times I've gone out to just try to, you know, slow the game down a little bit for him. But just, you know, sometimes it's just the hitters. They get on some, and you've seen our hitters do it. We've done the same thing where we get 2 outs, nobody on. Pretty soon, 2, 3, 4 hits, a walk, an error, and it's 4 or 5 runs. So we need to stop those things.
This time a year ago, you were looking at forecasts and seeing all the rain that was going to be coming to deal with, and it ended up playing a huge role. Have you guys already started looking at what it's going to be like there and the anticipations?
Yeah, well, I mean, we look at weather every day, whether it's here, and see how warm it is, what's the wind going to do. So we've been looking at it a little bit. I've been busy looking at all those teams. So I saw a little bit of chances of rain, and it's going to be humid, and there's always a chance for pop-up stuff. So we are very, as we've talked about when we went on the road in Pac-12 play, we're ready for weather. These older players have been through it.
What's the outlook on that stadium? It looks like it's on the smaller side, especially compared to what you're used to.
Well, I mean, first of all, it's a beautiful place. I'm excited. Big crowds. They do a great job down there. Coach Couch said it was, he's been in the Southeastern Conference. He says it's for that conference, it's a very fair stadium. So we're looking forward to seeing it.
What does Nick McClary mean to this team?
Well, he's our glue. He's the coach on the field. He keeps everybody going. Obviously, Defensive Player of the Year in the Pac-12, all Pac-12 performer. But he's a special guy. He's going to someday, he won't admit this, but someday he's going to be a great coach. He has a huge heart. He has a huge desire to win. He has a huge desire to play at the next level. So hoping he will get a chance. I know he will, and make it to the big leagues.
He's had 2 straight steals of home this season, which is just something you don't see in baseball anymore. What goes into something like that?
Well, first of all, you can't even start to talk about, hey, we're going to try to steal home against this team. We've looked at this pitcher. We think we can do it unless you have guys who don't have any fear. So he has no fear, and that's part of stealing bases. We have guys that are a lot faster than Nick, but not too many that are as fearless as Nick.
He's made himself a much better hitter this year. What's changed?
Well, I think he works diligently. He and Guerin and Mac Bingham, they're in the cage nonstop on their own. And I would say Toby DeMello, Tyler Coolbaugh, our player development coach, they go over film and they look at film and give, have made him and the rest of the guys have become really, really good hitters.
He's kind of alluded to it a bit, but what did you learn about last year playing, and the reason was that you taken to this year?
No, we just have to have a lot of pitching. You have to be available. Obviously, the perfect world, you win Friday, you win Saturday, you win Sunday, great. But it's never a perfect world. And then, you throw in the chances of rain and rain delays. And so everybody's got to be ready. We talked about it yesterday. Some guys haven't gotten the opportunities to pitch or get on the field. They may. I told them, you get into playoffs, it's never the stars, it seems like, that win the games for you. It's always somebody that nobody expects. So everybody has to be ready.
Yeah, I think you only used 8 pitchers during those 4 games.
Right.
So there were guys that didn't get in, but you expect, I would assume, to be more involved.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to be. It's double elimination now, and we're going to have to get some really quality innings out of guys that haven't pitched a whole lot lately.
How would you compare the depth in the bullpen to last year?
We're probably a little deeper than last year. We'd like to be deeper, but that's something we got to work on.
He gathers in this huddle, big circle.
Yeah,
before the game. Is that something that's done recently? Here?
That's interesting, Michael. That we were at Stanford. We had a tough game on Saturday after a really emotional game Friday night, a loss. And then Saturday we just sort of laid an egg, and I got after him pretty good in the post game. And then Sunday, we always have our little meet. The coaches leave, they meet on their own. And I noticed, I looked back and all the pitchers went over there, which wasn't what they usually did. So the whole group got together and then, like you said, made the big huddle. And yeah, that's where it started. So that started on the Sunday at Stanford.
That's players only.
Players only. And no idea. And I don't want to know either.
TCU's top 10 in the country in steals.
Yeah.
And have runners on first and second. Is it up to you? Is it you or the pitcher catcher to call out?
Well, it's if wherever they are, especially in the middle of the infield, it's the shortstop, second baseman. It's us as coaches. It's Dave, who's giving the signals to the pitcher on pickoffs and stuff like that. It's all of us. But when you play a team like this, the one thing I've learned is they're going to get their steals. They're elite runners, and the best way to not let them steal is not let them get on base. But that's not reality. They're going to get on, and one thing you can't let it do is bother you. You can't get personal about it. It's just part of their game. They still have to cross home plate. So we have to realize that, and don't change the way you pitch. Sometimes pitchers get nervous. They try to be quicker. They throw more fastballs. We'll stay with our game.
How much is that the pressure on a defense when you're going up against a team like that?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I was alluding to is if you let it, it puts a lot of pressure on you. It will affect how you play. I've played against guys in professional baseball where you have a 4-game series. They will send everybody the first day, so the rest of the series you're freaked out and you don't know what to do, even though they get thrown out. But as a manager or head coach, you're ultra worried about their running game. So we just have to mentally be stronger than a couple steals here and there.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
How would you describe what it was like in the locker room during that selection show?
Yeah, we were very nervous. I think a lot of us were just sitting there not knowing what was going to happen. And then we all had a feeling that it was either going to be us, USC, or ASU in that last spot where we ended up getting it. And we were all just sitting there. I remember I was sitting next to Tony Bullard and Tyler Casagrande. And, we saw the name pop up, and we just went crazy.
Did you end up on the bottom of a pile, or?
Yeah, I, ran and jumped on everybody. And then I hugged Casa, and we both fell to the ground. And we were just on the ground for, 20 seconds, so that's all I remember. Yeah.
And now you're in. So how do you take advantage of this opportunity?
Yeah, I feel like treat it similar to how we did the Pac-12 tournament. I think a lot of people didn't expect us to even make the Pac-12 tournament. And we got in, got our chance, and we ran with it. And I think that's exactly how we have to prepare for this as well. Playing with house money, we got nothing to lose. Just play our best baseball. We're playing our best baseball right now, so I'm excited.
Well, you saw Ole Miss, what they did last year, that they were kind of in a similar position where people didn't think they deserved to get in, but a team that's motivated and hot. Can you use what you saw from them?
Yeah, definitely. It's been done, so you can do it as well. So that's a really cool part about it. And I feel like we have a lot of similarities with that team. We're a lot older team. You got a lot of old hitters on the offensive side who have been in big situations. So I think that something like this isn't going to be too big of a moment for a lot of us. And I think helping younger guys like Mason and some other pitchers that haven't really been in a big situation like that is going to be huge. And we can do that with our experience.
You have 2 straight steals at home this season. What goes into something like that?
Just saying screw it and going. That's all there's nothing much to really think about. It's just in both those situations, the third baseman was really far off the line because Kiko is up and Chase is up. We're both up, and they get shifted a lot. So that's the one thing I noticed. And then I just talked to Toby at third base and say, can I go? And he says yes, and that's about all.
One was against the lefty and one was a right
pitcher. Yeah.
Is it easier against the lefty theoretically since their back is?
I don't know. The guy that was the righty kept looking down at the ground, so I saw that, and also I was able to get so far off the third base both situations. So
the Oregon State one, it looked like you almost forgot to slide.
Yeah, well, I was running and I was like, okay, I gotta get to home, and I was like, oh crap, I need to slide, so I just slid the last second. But yeah.
Has that something you've done in the past?
No, never done it. No, not until this year. So I saw West Virginia did it against us, and I was like, that was really smart. If that ever comes, and then I got a third, and I was like, oh my gosh, I could do this right now.
So. But you're going to be playing a team in TCU that steals a ton.
Yeah.
So you and Mason are going to have to be figuring out who's covering the bag and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
How has he done now that he's inserted into the lineup on an everyday basis? He's what, 5 years younger than you?
Yeah, I don't know how much younger he is than me, but he's for sure taking strides. And there's a lot of times where I got to get on him for certain things. Just, he's a young kid. He's never really failed in his life until he got here. So dealing with failure, that's the biggest thing I think he's done a lot better at towards the end of the season, where you can get from one at bat to another instead of letting it snowball into 4 bats where he's upset about it. And he's done a really good job of getting to the next pitch.
Well, Chip has said that you can't really, they're going to get their steals. Don't overthink it to where it's going to take away from your defense and the pitching and all that. Is that a matter you have to kind of decide between leaving the hole open where someone could hit through or going for the base?
I feel like it's more of just the pitchers controlling it at first base. With the pitch clock, you can kind of hold the clock till it gets to 2 or 3 seconds, then pitch, and then at some points you pitch faster in the pitch clock. And I think that as a base stealer, it's really hard to take a lead and be comfortable when the pitcher's constantly changing his holds and looks at second base. So I think that's a big thing for us, just controlling it and then being ready when the ball is hit to you and not being too focused on trying to do too much.
The game of failure, usually we talk about that with batters, maybe more than pitchers, because the best case scenario, right? You're going to get a hit maybe 3 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
But your bullpen this year has had a lot of rough outings, walk-off losses, etc. Bounced back really nicely in the Pac-12 tournament. How would you try to support those guys?
Yeah, just letting them know that today is a new day, and I think getting to the next pitch is the most important thing. Whether you're a hitter, pitcher, on defense, have a routine that gets you to that next pitch where you're mentally focused and know what you're supposed to do. I think a good example was Barraza on whatever day that was against Oregon State. He was in a big situation, needing 3 outs with the guy on third base, and he did a really good job of getting to the next pitch, taking a deep breath, controlling your breath and controlling your emotions. That's all you can do.
The team huddle that you guys do?
Yeah.
Well, Chip said that started the Sunday at the Stanford game. Is that just something that the team decided to do? And what do you guys talk about?
Well, we used to always just do the hitters, and we would do like the Chicago Bulls, like what they always do, like what time is it, game time who, that thing. And then the last day at Stanford, we're like, why don't we get why not the pitchers? Because they're always doing stuff out here, like playing catch. But we interrupted them and told them to come join us. And ever since, I thought we've really come together as a team, and we just talk about dumb stories, and then like someone will talk about like what we need to do that day, and then we'll be locked in for that game. So it's a cool way to just like not think about anything that's going on. I could be 0 for 10 my last 10 at bats, but for those 4 or 5 minutes we're in that huddle, we're not thinking about that at all. So I think that's huge.
Is that a good example of how one side, the hitters or the pitchers, aren't too worried about what the other, like getting upset about them because they're not living up to their...
Yeah, I mean, we're all a team and we're in this together. That's why I always say, like, when the hitters are going bad, the pitchers need to help pick us up. And I think that's a huge thing. When we're all in that huddle, we can all just laugh about whatever we were talking about and stuff, and then get prepared for what we need to do that day. So I think that's huge.
Batting average is up about 60 points or so for last season. What did you do? What did you work on it? How'd you get better?
Just focusing on my approach to the plate with the coaches. I think that's been a huge thing. And just dialing in my swing a little bit. I think that's been a big focus for me. I've been healthy. I think last year I got kind of banged up a little bit, and that screwed me up at the plate a little bit. But just focused on trying to help the team. And we got a lot of other really good hitters on this team, and I think there's no pressure for me or anybody to do too much. I mean, I got Chase Davis, who's probably one of the best players in college baseball, and then Kiko Romero, RBI leader, in school history. So all I got to do is get on base, and that's my goal, and they'll knock me in. So
that's that action of sweeping the leg, like in the batter's box in between pitches.
Yeah.
Is that new?
Yeah.
I used to do that. Maybe?
Yeah. OT is one of my best friends, and just seeing him in the box, he always had that presence where, like, you knew he was at the box. Like, when he was in the box, everyone was watching, and the pitcher was afraid of him. Like, no one wanted to pitch to Tanner. And just that mentality of it's my box and no one can mess with me in the box, I think that's been huge. And I think that I learned that especially from him, yeah.
You think people are afraid of you when you're up?
I don't know, but I don't know about that, but they're definitely afraid of Tanner Trumbo, I'll tell you that.
Do you feel like the team is playing its best overall baseball heading into the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I think for sure. I think pitching's been really good the last week or so. We're playing great defense, and I mean, our hitters, we're just doing what we do. And I think the most important thing is just keep doing what we're doing and can't try to do too much. I think the biggest thing this last week was playing in that championship game against Oregon. It was a regional. I played in the regional final, super regional in Omaha, and I feel like that was the exact same feel. And I think that's huge for all of the guys to experience that. And now going into Fayetteville, Arkansas, where it's a big environment, I think that was a huge step for us to be prepared for that.
Great. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Did you guys think you were going to make it when that show was going on and they were kind of running out of spots?
Yes and no. It kind of got a little bit nerve-wracking because we're the last ones to get picked, basically, and it's just kind of the thoughts of, are we gonna make it? Are we not? Did we do good enough in the tournament and in the season? And I think all in all, we're all pretty happy that we made it, and looking forward to this upcoming regional.
So now what? What's the approach? You made it.
I mean, same approaches kind of we've had, and I know I've had in the Pac-12 tournament, just as far as pitching, throw as many strikes, be able to locate the ball, and not have too many, errors as far as pitch location. And as far as hitting, I mean, I've played on a lot of teams, and this is probably one of the best hitting teams that I have faced in the fall and have seen, in the dugout and in the bullpen. And as long as they keep that up, I think we should be pretty good.
You've been on the losing end of some pretty rough games, but then some of your last outings here, I mean, having a guy on third, nobody out in a tie game, how are you able to deal with being in one of those rough ones and then being in another bad situation and just it's a completely different thing for you?
It's a tough place to be put into, but I've had my kind of ups and downs as far as when you faced Oregon, when you faced Oregon State, and it sucked to be put in that situation, and the outcome, which it happened, but I'm glad I was able to bounce back and not make the same mistakes in the tournament that I did in the season when we played them.
What did you learn from those experiences during the
Well, as far as those two games, I made a lot of mistakes as far as location. There was a few mistakes that I threw maybe an inch or two down the middle when it was supposed to be outside or inside or elevated, and you just took advantage of that, and it went in their favor.
Go ahead. I said, how do you deal with all those failures psychologically? How do you bounce back?
I mean, it's hard to forgive and forget, but at the same time, I'm gonna get another chance, so I can't really dwell on the past and my last outings, and just fix the small things.
Well, in that Stanford game, the last game of that series, I believe you gave up the home run to Rios,
Yeah.
caused it to go to extra innings. Was that an example of one of those where it was just slightly off? That Chip and Dave send you back out for another inning. Is that a case where it's like, I know that they still trusted me?
Oh yeah, 100%. I knew they still trusted me, and I knew I had a second chance to bounce back. And when it wasn't easy, I gave up the 3-run home run to Rios and basically tied the game. And I wasn't thinking in my head, don't make the same mistake. I believe I got good stuff, and sometimes I kind of let that get away from me. But it was one of those outings where, hey, I'm gonna get another chance, and just kind of give them what I got to give, and if they hit it, tip my cap to them.
You struck out Carter Graham to end that game. Was that a slider?
Yes, it was.
That was, okay. So now, going forward to the Pac-12 tournament, you're in this situation where you've got a runner on third with nobody out. And usually in that situation, the other two scores. You prepare him. Right. Nick was saying that he would really talk to you and just try to get you to slow down a little bit, take it pitch by pitch. How did you get through that situation?
So yeah, Nick McClary told me to take a deep breath, because I normally get sped up a lot, and I kind of let my emotions get the best of me sometimes, which I'm getting a lot better at. And he said that when we played Oregon State and Oregon, he was like, hey, take a deep breath, you got this, because it's in that situation, it's not easy. And I took a deep breath, didn't really think too much, because I tend to think a lot, and just got the pitch and located it, and if they hit the ball, hopefully it hit to someone. And
What's your max velocity been this year?
I believe it's been 98.
98. And how does that compare to last year?
Oh, it's been a significantly big change. Last year I varied from speed to, I want to say 87 to 95 in that wide variety of range. And this year I really took advantage of the time that I had during fall and winter and Thanksgiving break, like the breaks, and I really got in the weight room through, and it played a big part of me being able to maintain my velocity throughout this whole season.
Is your mindset or approach any different when you're going out for the 8th inning versus the 9th inning?
Because normally when I get put in the games, they're normally relatively close. It's a 1-run ball game, 3-run ball game. And from the past, if we're down by 4, there's always that chance that they might tie the game or take the lead, which is, it's kind of nerve-wracking at the same time, because you know, you don't want to give up those runs. But no, I relatively don't think about, you know, giving up the lead. I kind of just look at the pitch com and see how it wants me to throw, and I try to locate as best as I can.
As a staff, you guys have had some trouble this year putting guys away. Get ahead 0-2 or 1-2. Is that just location? Is that just making a mistake?
Yeah, I mean, I know I play a big part in, you know, the mislocation, but I mean, as a bullpen, you know, we've made a few mistakes and they didn't really go in our favor, and we realized that, and I think this kind of Pac-12 tournament really kind of changed us and just our mentality as far as, you know, throw the pitch in the location, and if they get a hit, you just have to tip your cap.
Full. You said in your bio that Arizona was your dream school since you were little. Did they express any interest in you from out of high school?
Yeah, they did. They didn't give me an offer, but they, you know, I went on a visit, and I only had, you know, U of A and New Mexico State and a few JUCOs, and, you know, New Mexico State was the only offer that I had, you know, as far as D1, and it was a fairly good, you know, scholarship, because just it was a little bit out of state, but I still got those benefits of my academics and everything.
Were you frustrated or angry about U of A not giving you
You know, I was a bit, you know, I wouldn't say upset, but I was kind of, you know, frustrated. But I'm glad I'm here now, and I got the opportunity to play at home and be close to my parents and be able to fulfill that dream of playing at the U of A.
Starting with the Sunday game against Stanford, you guys started to do the full team huddle before the game. The batters, I guess, invited the pitch.
Yeah.
First of all, what was your reaction when that was brought up? And then what do you think that does for you guys?
You know, it was kind of new to us, because at times, you know, I think we kind of divide ourselves, and now we're all as a team, and I think that really kind of created a good, you know, aroma of just confidence and, you know, believing in each other. And, you know, we had our fun in the circles, and it was a good addition.
TCU is known for its ability to steal bases. As a pitcher, what's kind of your job in terms of keeping runners on first base and trying to not let them steal?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Lon does a good job of, you know, making sure we have good leg times and we have good holds. And as long as we, you know, kind of keep that up, I think we should be pretty good. And I know we have a few good catchers behind the plate to help us.
Nick mentioned changes like using the pitch clock to your advantage and sometimes waiting, sometimes trying to throw quicker. Do you think that kind of can help you in terms of kind of keeping them off balance and not knowing when you're going to throw your next pitch?
Yeah, I mean, I know for a pitcher, it's kind of, you know, we don't have a lot of time, and you look at the clock and it's, you know, 5 seconds. But, you know, a long hold picks really have a good advantage to the pitchers, because, you know, the hitter's just standing in the box and you can't really call time, because, you know, you only have a certain amount of timeouts before you get a ball or a strike caught on you. So I think that kind of plays in the pitcher's favor.
They changed it this year too, right? Like you can't just step off and do the fake throw thing anymore.
Yeah, so you can pick as many times as you want to first, but when you go to second, you can only pick, I think, once or twice, and the middle infielders have to go towards the bag, make an attempt. So that was a big change from last year to this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, how below 100% were you going on 3 or 4 days rest in the Pac-12?
I'd say it wasn't really. I wasn't really below that 100% because we did a lot of work during the week to make sure that my arm was ready and stuff. And I mean, yeah, it was less rest, but we had done that before. I mean, it's the same thing kind of as thrown out of the pen back-to-back days, stuff, just less bulk. And so, I mean, I don't think I was any less percent-wise. I mean, yeah.
You just had a team that was getting on you?
Yeah, I'd say with just playing them again, I mean, they went back to the tape and they realized how we were attacking, and I wasn't getting the ball down enough to get guys out, and that was basically just what hurt me.
Well, that outing, and then I think the one at Stanford there was like one big inning where it seemed like with 2 outs, it's just batter after batter after batter. How do you try to break up that string?
I think the big thing is kind of what you just said, is just being able to get that third out. I think that's kind of been something that has been getting me the last couple outings, and I think just the ability to get the first 2 outs needs to be the same, like, intensity to get that third out.
getting this assignment to start for the regional like this? What's your approach?
Well, we actually don't know who's going yet. I mean, we're still looking at it because we obviously have a lot of time and we're weighing our options and we're looking over film and whatnot to who's going to start. So we aren't sure exactly who's going yet.
So let's say you're going to start at some point this week. How do you approach a regional?
I mean, I had the opportunity to go to one my freshman year when I was at Nevada, and I did not get to pitch as well, but I also prepared myself to pitch because you use everybody in the regional, obviously, and so I think it's just treating it like any other game. I mean, everybody's just as good to be in that regional, and they all earned it. So I think just kind of looking at it like any other game, whether it's a Friday game, Tuesday game, whatever, I've thrown on bullpen game. I think just kind of having that same mentality to attack and get people out and win the game.
You tend to throw over a decent amount. And with TCU being a team that's stolen 100-something bases and whatnot, how do you try to use that and then also maybe the pitch clock to throw off that run?
I think controlling the run game is a big deal. I mean, kind of mixing in your timings when you're on the mound. If you're not going to pitch as well, I mean, just kind of mixing that up to where you don't get caught in a pattern. I think it's a big deal. I mean, they have a lot of stolen bases on the year, so being able to control them is going to be a big deal for us because it just keeps them off of a scoring position.
Have you ever noticed maybe a hitter or someone over at first looking at the pitch clock, wondering when is it going to throw?
I mean, for me, it's probably harder for me to see that, I guess. I mean, as a hitter's sake, looking at it, I don't know. I mean, I think they just kind of are trying to see when I'm going to throw in the box and kind of get a timing that way instead of guessing when the pitch clock's coming.
You have the best strikeout to walk ratio on the team, but is there such a thing as throwing too many strikes or too many balls over the plate?
I don't think so. I mean, because there's a lot of ways that hitters get themselves out. I mean, so I think just giving a chance to kind of throw strikes and allow them to beat themselves you have a lot better chance of getting outs than when you're trying to get them to chase.
Sure. If you look at those two innings that we were talking about before, the one against Stanford and one against Oregon State, you weren't falling behind guys a lot. You think maybe you're becoming a little too predictable in those situations where you're just missing spots?
Yeah, I think it was more of missing spots, and then if it was predictable at all, it was just probably because if we were throwing back-to-back pitches, we just weren't being smart with how we were throwing them. So I was either hanging them or I was getting them too much over the plate where it was a count where we didn't need to do that. We could go a little more off the plate and get a swing, or we could raise an eyesight to set up another pitch or something like that. So I think that was the main thing for me.
Sure. In what ways do you try to support the guys in the bullpen?
I think just starting off strong. I think just kind of setting the tone in the game and then like having them come in to where they can feel comfortable because the game's set up to where they have success. I think that's the main thing for me. I mean, just as being out the first guy out, I think it's just a big deal to kind of just set the tone on the pitching staff and then allow the hitters to obviously get their hacks off because we're going to hit no matter what. And so it just makes it a lot more comfortable for the guys to come out of the pen and continue the game.
Chris Ferraz has had some ups and downs this year and came to you guys in a big way against Oregon State. Had a clean outing against Oregon as well in the Pac-12 tournament. What impresses you about his ability to just kind of bounce back?
I mean, me and him are really close, so we kind of talk about a lot of that stuff off the field and just kind of keeping his mindset right. I mean, because you obviously have ups and downs throughout the season all the time, and I just think him kind of staying on his path and believing in himself has been a big thing, and it's shown obviously lately that he's been able to do that.
Over the final 8 games, I believe you guys allowed 5 runs or fewer in 6 of them. Do you think pitching staff as a whole is kind of pitching at its best of the season heading into this tournament?
Yeah, I'd say so, and I'd say that's a very good positive to have going in the regional and whatnot. I mean, I think our approaches are still the same. We're just executing pitches better. That's basically the main thing. We left some balls up throughout the beginning of the season and whatnot, and that was kind of what hurt us. And just the confidence with always knowing that our hitting is going to put up runs and whatnot has helped us a lot with being able to come out and pitch and just attack the zone.
The huddle that you guys do now, the whole team huddle before the game, what do you think that accomplishes?
I just think it's a camaraderie. It's kind of just like a bond. I mean, we split it up to where we kind of had pitchers doing their own stuff and hitters doing their own stuff, and we did that the last game of the Stanford series, and I think that it just kind of brought our team together to another level. I mean, you always have the split sides of pitching and hitting, but just being able to split that time a little more and be more of a team aspect that's on the field as well, I think it was a big deal just to kind of bring us together and kind of find that meaning for what we all want again.
What do you guys talk about?
We just share kind of stuff to keep us loose, really. I mean, and sometimes it's some funny story or something like that, or we have somebody that just like has some motivational thing to say, and we always end it with what time is it, game time, who, and stuff like that. So I mean, it's just really whatever we feel like saying that day, and it's just that little time together is just a big bond moment.
How do you feel physically?
I mean, I feel good. I mean, I trust my fit, like my trainer, my stuff like that. We have Paul who does all the massages and stuff for us. I mean, I trust our guys to get us right, and as long as we stay on the plan, then really it's not really set up for us to feel worse or anything like that. So I mean, it's just at this point of the season, it's just kind of grinding it out and figuring out the best way to help the team win.
All right. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, guys.
Like.